Our next speaker is Martin Roberts. Martin spoke with us last year. He presented a very lively presentation on store design last year, and really kind of challenged us to carry a little bit further this year. So hence the Dream Store was created. And Martin is a longtime experienced designer. He has Martin Roberts Design Studio since 2010. And ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, let's welcome Martin Roberts. Talk about our store designs.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. You know, these sessions are great, but they do go on. It's hard to have concentration to really focus on things. So I'd just like to offer you this. If you'd all like to just stand up for a minute and turn around and just kind of stretch your legs for a few minutes. I know we can't afford the time to have everybody go out of the room and get a cup of coffee and come back in again, but, you know, let's get the blood through our legs here and stretch and feel good. Because I tell you, I used to teach at Parsons School of Design, and I tell you, my students didn't have more than 20 minutes concentration before they were asleep. So make yourselves comfortable. Sit down when you feel comfortable. So, thank you. So let me just introduce myself a little bit to those people who didn't see me last time and might be curious about where I come from and my strange accent. First of all, my strange accent is that I spent 30-odd years of my life in the UK, and I've spent 30 years of my life in the US. And I've worked on just about every continent on the planet, designing retail stores. That's what I do for a living. That's what I've done since 1966 when I started in the business. So yes, I'm a traditional, as the basis of the discussion we had this morning. But that means I work incredibly hard. I work, a 60-hour week. It means that I work going to see clients all over the world, all over the country, working with them on their retail stores. And what I do is I visit with them and I walk through their store and I try to give them a perspective that they can't get themselves because they work out there every day and they see their store every day. They just don't see things that I see with my experience and my background. So that's what I do for a living. In this last year, I've done the Arkansas Razorback store for the clothing inside the university and for the bookstore there. I've been designing bookstores for Barnes & Noble, and they have 700 of them out there, and we've been working on the new Nook departments there, putting in electronic books into the book environment. We've been working for some of the largest people in the home furnishings industry, for Mathis Brothers, who have stores that are up to 200,000 square feet. And we've been working with retailers who have individual one-off stores. So quite a range of different kinds of things here. And I'm here for you. I'm here to help you. What I want you to do here is participate. And the reason to get you up and stand and turn around and get your brains working is because I want you to ask me questions that I can help you with. And that's why I'm here. And after we've had this session here, if you want to spend time with me, I'll be around here until tomorrow. So I'm certainly available this evening if you need to talk about ideas you want to explore. So the Dream Store. Very kindly, Bill asked me after I gave my talk last time to get involved in his idea to develop this exciting opportunity of a dream store, a store that could be an inspiration to all of you in terms of new ideas. I'm going to walk you through the Dream Store concept and what we put into it and what the underpinnings of it are and what the theory is behind it. When you walk in and you get a little pleasant experience walking through that, you may not see what's the structure that's behind that concept. So I want to expose you to that. I also want to really put it in context of what is going on in retail at the moment. And if you know what's happening out there, we've just had a long conversation about changing demographics with some very interesting pointers here about how we should reorientate our store towards different consumer groups or consumer constituents, we might call them. And I really enjoyed the talk this morning before lunch from our young generation ideas and so on, because those are the people I work with as designers every single day. And they're always bringing these new ideas and new thinking processes to the work that I do. I have a team of 10 people: interior designer, architect, graphic designer, fixture designer, merchandise designer, signage designer, communication person, color and materials person. I have a whole team of people behind me who help bring the new concepts to life for us. And we're working on all kinds of projects which are really exciting in retail development. So the changing demographics is changing the business. We've also seen that consumers devote less and less time to actually shopping, although actually they spend more and more time online shopping, and then they use that as the technique to filter out where they actually go to shop. In furniture stores, 10 years ago, I did research with consumers, and we found that they would go to 10 stores to find a piece of furniture that they wanted. That gradually went down, from 10 to 7 to 6 to 3, and now they shop about 1.5 stores. For a mattress, for example, they shop 1.5 stores, and mostly they shop 1 store. So in that store is where they buy. So they're spending much less time actually on their feet in retail stores. And when they're in the retail stores, they're looking at their phone, and they're using their phone to do comparison shopping. And really, the phone has become a vigilante method of consumers really deciding where they buy and what they buy. Particularly, you can imagine inside an area like books. The work I'm doing with Barnes & Noble at the moment, just as an example of where we're all going to be in every industry very quickly. You had a situation where a hardcover book cost $30. Well, then along came Barnes & Noble, discounted it to like 15. Along comes Amazon and discounts it to 12.5. And now, of course, Amazon has launched the electronic reader that they have, the Fire, and what's happening with that is they're now basically giving away the razor so that they can sell the blades. So what's happening is that the little reader is being given away at $89. Well, it costs them $150 to make and market, but they're giving it away because they know that by the time they've sold a few books at the right margin, they'll make that money back up again. Just like, guys in here, you all know how much we pay for razor blades today, right? Packet of razor blades is like $36, right? I mean, think about it. How many is in there? 12 maybe? So we're paying $3 a shave? Come on, this is ridiculous. But that's how they're doing it. They give you the handle, they sell you the blades. Same deal that's happening here. So Amazon is in a position where they can now discount the cost of the content because the consumer already has the handle, so all they have to do is to sell the blade. So if they can get those down to like $6, how the heck does a company like Barnes & Noble, who has 700 stores, each store is in the 25,000, 30,000 square foot space with umpteen employees and all the overhead that means, and you know what that means as retailers, how do they manage to sell their product against what will eventually be a $6 book? Well, they have to get into the same business. And that means all the development cost of developing the razor, developing the handle, developing the pad. And of course, you might have noticed that Microsoft has just put a huge investment into Barnes & Noble. 700 stores with access to consumers. Even Apple doesn't have 700 stores with access to consumers. So there's an enormous opportunity for communication between the consumer and the person in the store. If you have a problem with an Amazon product, you're stuck with that wretched telephone system of trying to get through to somebody and being put on numbers and hold and all of that nonsense. You can't talk to a human being. And again, you should all visit an Apple store and see what happens. In an Apple store, for example, an Apple store typically was 2,500 square feet in a mall, did about 6 million. That was the first entree into the marketplace. Now, Apple stores in major centers are doing $1 million days. $1 million days in an Apple store. Just to give you some idea. If you haven't seen an Apple store, you don't know what's going on in retail. So Please go and look and see what that is. And the demographics, she's totally right, is amazing mix of ages and ethnic groups and so on that are in the store and enjoying the experience and becoming Apple devotees, which I am myself. I have a membership with Apple, which costs me $500 a year. I can call from anywhere. Any of my 10 employees can call from anywhere. We can get up to 20 hours of training free, and we can get online Genius service to fix our computers on the road. Pretty good deal. So online versus brick and mortar. What is happening here is, as we've all seen, people are doing their research first, then they're going to the store. The number of stores that are out in the marketplace we'll talk about, but there's actually 3,000 square feet of retail to every head of household in the United States. Every one of you could have your own 3,000 square foot store right now. That just tells you how overstored we are in the marketplace. So unless we differentiate our stores from one another, if we don't find ways of making those stores appeal to those customers, it's just too much competition out there. We can't possibly survive. Customers are much more well-informed when they come into the store. When they come into the store and they decide to shop, they know what they want. Just before I made this trip here, I'll give you a wonderful example. I have my grandchildren coming over for the weekend, and my wife's all excited. She wants to show them a 3D movie, which they've never seen, and we've just got a new replacement plasma because a strike of lightning took my other one out, and we had to get a new plasma screen. So that was all done, but the kids are coming over, they want to see a 3D movie. Well, I don't have any way of playing a 3D movie because I still have my old VCR. So I thought in the half an hour that I had before I had to run for the plane to get here, I would run into a local store, not even Best Buy, where I knew they had this on sale for $175 for the player. And I go up to the counter and I say to the guy, I'm looking for the 3D player, etc. He looks it up on his computer, which is facing the wrong way. I can't see what he's looking at. I've got no idea what he's doing on that screen, how he's diddling me, or what product he's got there. He says he's got one in the store. I said, okay, fine. Just print me out the information about it so I can check it's the same model that I'm actually looking for. He starts looking for the printer. No one's ever asked him to print anything out before. Are you kidding, right? So eventually, from down in the basement somewhere, they bring me a printout. I look at the printout. It is the one that I want. I say, okay, I'll do it. And then there's this whole kerfuffle where they take away my credit card to somewhere where I can't see where it's gone to run it on a machine. And I mean, the whole system is just like chaotic, right? And then eventually they say, okay, it's ready to go. I said, well, where is it? And they say, well, you have to drive around the back to get it. A thing that they could have carried out to the counter, could have carried out to my car, right? So now I said, okay, well, I'll do whatever I got to do. I've only got a few minutes left. So I drive out into the street to drive around to the back of the car. And it's a 3-lane highway going in that direction with no possible way of turning back. And I realized that the entrance to the back of the store was the other side of the store. So now I'm in the 3-lane highway going with everybody down, and I look for the first turn off. I get off on the turn off. I turn around. I come around. By the time I come around the back of the store is closed. So no matter how our store is a dream store, no matter how our store is the right kind of store for today's environment, the one thing we can't beat in the end is customer service, and we can't beat the way that they run the system. So the second thing I want to talk to you about is some of the changes that are happening in retail. And you probably have all noticed that there is no longer a Circuit City, but Best Buy is still there. You've probably noticed that there's no Borders, but Barnes & Noble is still there. You've probably noticed the number of what I call Siamese stores, double stores that were up there in the 80s and the early 90s that have all gone, and now we're left with one. The exception is Home Depot and Lowe's, and we'll see what happens in that scenario. But certainly Kmart went, and left us with Walmart, and now we only really have Macy's to shop, and all those wonderful stores like Marshall Field's have gone. So what we're seeing is the simplification of the retail experience and the retail environment. And we've seen that malls, for example, are no longer an interesting place to shop. They used to be a place where you started at one end and you walked from the big store, the Saks or whatever it was, down to the other end, to the J.C. Penney's, and you saw all the stores in between. Nobody does that anymore. Nobody has time for that anymore. What they do is they drive around to the entrance where they can walk into whatever brand it is they're looking for, Brooks Brothers or Lord & Taylor or whatever the brand is that they're looking for. They walk in that door, shop that store, walk back in the car and drive away. They don't shop the whole place because they've already looked online and they found the item that they want and they have their favorite store and they go to that entrance and go away. So malls are really a thing of the past. They're really dying. And many of the malls that had the big department stores in them as anchors have lost those opportunities. So now we're talking about the overstoring of America, and I've already given you some numbers to demonstrate that. Discounters have also changed. And if we look at the discounters like Cy Sims, who used to sell the clothing at a great price, many of those have gone away. Many of the base discounters have gone. What have they been replaced by? They've been replaced by brands who've now created their own discount brands. So, for example, Saks off Fifth Avenue that I designed, and we've done 14 stores for them. That concept is doing incredibly well. It's the only thing that's keeping Saks together, because otherwise people walk in the store like a museum, look at all of the items that are in there, and then go somewhere else and buy. They just use it as a fashion handle to choose something from somewhere else. So this kind of shopping as a means of finding a value, but at the same time trying to create a fashion statement, which then leads the consumer, but then the consumer doesn't buy in your store. This is another trick that's really happening in retail that's eroding the whole business of retailing. Food has also become a huge destination. Now, when we created the Barnes & Noble concept back in 1991, it was the first time that anybody had ever put a coffee bar inside a bookstore. And 700 stores later, something like over 15% of their profit comes from the cafe inside the store, not just from the books. But more and more people have put food into retail experiences. So what we're seeing is Target has now put in huge food experiences inside their stores and created a destination for that weekly shop, and yet at the same time, they're selling fashion products in the same environment. And Target, fools you. You have this beautiful advertising, fantastic advertising on television. It tells you what a great fashion icon they are, what great value they are. But when you step into the store, what a letdown it is. I think, one of the things that we have to be very careful about is that in retail, we don't overpromise on the front of the store and then not deliver inside. This morning, we heard about someone who changed the exterior of the store, and they've got a boost in sales. The danger is you do the outside of the store, but you don't do the inside of the store. The customer comes in full of expectations, and they find the same old experience inside the store. You have to bring fire on all cylinders. You can't just have one cylinder working great and the other ones aren't really working for you. So what is happening in retail is colossal, and bigger is better. That's what's happening. So the stores that are remaining are actually getting bigger, and I'll give you some examples. We're working on a store in California for Mathis Brothers. They're a home furnishing store. They sell appliances, and they sell TVs, and they sell home products. 165,000 square feet. You know how big that is? It's like 3 football fields, isn't it? Anybody know the size of a football field relative to that? Is that right? Is it 3 or 4? I'm not sure. But it's up there. I mean, it's totally ridiculous. And, I'm working on it. I'm doing the project. It's a huge project, and the client has 7 of those stores. We're working on a mall store, which is a home furnishing mall, which has a whole series of different offerings within it. 100,000 square foot mall. We're working on a sofa store. They only sell sofas. Can you imagine that? Only sell 2 brands. They sell Flex Steel and they sell Palliser. So Palliser is their modern, contemporary look. Flex Steel is their traditional look. And it's 15,000 square feet of floor with an escalator inside to get up to the second floor of sofas. Just nothing but sofas in the entire store. Incredibly successful. They launched 3 months ago, and they're way above budget. The mattress stores. You know, mattress stores used to be 2,500 square feet, really about the size that a rental store used to be, 2,500 square feet. But they've had to step up to 7,000 square feet. And in 7,000 square feet, they show about 45 mattresses. 45 mattresses. How can you choose between 45 mattresses, right? You can't be Cinderella and lie on every one of them. How do you make a decision? But the industry is inventing, gel, pocket coils, different kind of space-age foams, combinations of materials. They're always inventing something. And they always have an incentive. They always have an advertising program. They always train their people very, very well. And these mattress stores are doing about $3.5 million a store with 45 SKUs that never change. They never actually move a single piece from inside the store. It's all delivered from the warehouse. I mean, imagine the profitability, and you're selling a product that has huge profitability built into the product, and the unit price is, selling for between $1,500 and $2,500 a piece. So you don't have to sell a lot in order to do the kind of numbers that I'm talking about. So they're doing about $500 a square foot in those stores. And then we talk about, designing a dream store for the rental business that's in the 5,000 square foot space. How do you compete? How do you compete against all these kinds of stores? Let's talk about it. Here's a picture of the Morris stores that we're working on in Ohio, and they just opened a new one of these in Kentucky. And since I talked to you last time, we've opened 3 of these, 100,000 square foot each. One in Dayton, one in Columbus, and one in Kentucky. So this is a furniture mall in a pocket, if you like. The first thing that you have is a leather store, then you have the home entertainment store, then you have the Morris furniture store, then you also have an Ashley store, and then you have a mattress store, all with separate entrances in one space. And the idea is that you see this as a furniture mall. Inside, it's one big box. It could be a big tin shed. It doesn't matter what it is inside, because inside we create enough theater to create these different shopping experiences within the space. This is an overview of part of it. The white space that's on there represents the Ashley store, and it's the typical Ashley formula that we drop into that location with the 4 fireplaces and all the things that Ashley wants in that space. The rest of it, these rotundas, are points of entry, and as you walk around the radiuses, you experience a series of different stores as you go around. It could be the kids' store, it could be the leather store, it could be the mattress store, it could be each one of those different pieces. And then as you go in from the front, you can see that there is a mattress store and there is a home entertainment store. The home entertainment store is the one with the small walls and things inside that create little theater rooms that you can do your sales in that kind of area. You get some idea of this. Again, they're doing in the $400 a square foot range. Here's the front door under construction. Here's the interior. And I want you to notice from this interior what's happening is you have a walkway which was the original warehouse floor, which was stained and then treated with a polyurethane finish to give it a waterproof surface. And then on either side, you have carpet pads. And this is a technique which we've brought to the new concept store that we'll be talking about later. The use of signage which defines different areas, and using the floor as a way of defining what each of those areas is within the store. That's a technique which you'll see again in microcosm in the dream store that we're using. We've created strong feature elements, and in this case, because we have a 20-foot high ceiling which is open, and we don't want to spend the money of $1.50 a square foot to put in a conventional ceiling in there would make it look like an office. We've left it open. We've left the sprinklers facing upwards so that they can sprinkle the space. All of that's a cheaper way of handling things. And by having no floor covering on the aisles, we've really cut the cost of installing this space. But we float this crown molding around the centerpiece, and then we build a little stacked stone fireplace in the center to create something to stop the eye and something to create a horizon line and some sense of a ceiling within the space, some sense of decor within the space. And you notice the pendant drum shades that are being used instead of a ceiling, again, to confuse the eye. And then we're using the track lights to create that horizon line of where the lighting is coming from. And the track lighting all at 10'6", which is the optimal height to be able to light furniture, accessories, and displays. A lot of table lamps in the store, and most furniture stores use about 10 to 15% of the light comes from the table lamps that are inside the space. So most retailers overlight home furnishing stores. We try to cut the lighting down from the ceiling so that the lighting is closer to the subject and gives you more texture on the materials, and I'll talk about that a little more as we go along. So this is their home entertainment area. Has a screen in it that's nearly 20 feet long, and it's a projector unit that's mounted in the ceiling doing that, and they have 75 recliners to choose from. So, you have what, 3? Okay, point made. You get the point that what's happening here is that these stores are just becoming category killers. They're just dominating the business with huge quantities. But of course, customers also hate these kind of stores. They hate these kind of stores because it takes so damn long to shop here, right? On the other hand, if you go into a store where you're getting personal service, where you've already looked up on the internet, it's what you want, you go to that store, and like the VCR store that I mentioned last night, that's the store that I go to and I buy, because I can get in and get out, and I don't care if it costs me $20 more than it would do somewhere else, because I've only got 20 minutes to shop. So we're always looking to see who our demographics is and what our customers' destination is and why they're going there and so on. If you, on the other hand, want to furnish a whole house, you can come here and your coordinator will take you around, decorator, and show you every single area within the store. Ethan Allen has decided that 30,000 square feet stores are too big. They're now building 5,000 square foot stores in Florida and in foreign markets. And what they're doing inside their stores is they have 60-inch TVs on 3 of the walls, and their decorators sit with you and work with you through the catalog. And then they put up a whole collection of what you want for your home. You come back into the store, a week later, and they have the whole thing set up for you in virtual so that you can see what that looks like. If you want to go and sit on that sofa and see what it's like, just like a realtor taking you on a trip to see a new home, they'll put you in their wagon and take you off to see that a store that's maybe 20 miles away that has a full selection. So we're seeing more of the kind of mothership with satellite stores around as something that's going to be happening because, in many cases, to have the credibility, you have to have the big store, but it's not necessarily justified in terms of local sales and how that can happen. We're also seeing the change in lifestyle that's happening in home furnishings. Of course, we all know that, taller eating tables are in, and what we might call the snack generation, so people aren't sitting down to meals anymore. They're kind of eating on the fly as they go through the kitchen or through what used to be called the dining room or is now a great room. And so in order to do that, in many of the stores we're working on, we've created a series of counter heights that make it possible to exhibit how different stools can be used for different heights. So if you have a tabletop of different heights, you can make a choice. And people aren't buying sets anymore anyway, so there's no point in selling them a set of things. What you do here is you can sell them individual chairs that are to their taste to work with different kinds of countertop, tabletop heights that they can work with. So again, this is changing the way that retailing is happening based on lifestyle changes, based on new product development, based on new means of selling. In the mattress departments that we're doing, and this is for the 7,000 square foot stores that we're doing, we developed the new branding and identity for, this is for Mathis's own manufactured brand, and it's called Lady Americana. And we developed the Lady Americana branding. And what we've done here is we've got 2 aluminum strips that are placed on the wall behind the bed, and they're made at a size where you can slide in a printout that comes straight out of your, your regular computer printer. And you can have a section in there which is about the brand, a section there that's about the mattress benefits, and a section in there about king, queen, price, etc. And then a section in there that violates that when that goes on sale. So we need to develop within this industry, and Bill and I have talked about maybe next time I'm here, putting together a whole signage package for you guys that could do those kinds of things that you could print on your own printers in the stores, but would make it possible to have good informational signage about pricing, about product, etc. Here you can see how clean and simple that is. We've got rid of all the things that are tucked under the mattress and on the beds and all of that. It's all gone away. And this particular section, which is the Tempur-Pedic section, is kind of the carrot and stick. This is what pulls the customers in for that $3,000, $4,000 Tempur-Pedic, and when they see it and they lie on it, they love it, but then they look at the sticker and they get sticker shock, and we trade them over to the Mathis product, which is made of the same sort of materials for half the price. And that's a very easy sell because you've established the price point. Now you discount against that price point. But what you see in here is a wall system, not unlike the wall system that we were looking at over in the Dream store over there. And our thought is that we could have a modular wall system that we could develop, which could be exclusive for you guys, that would come from somebody like, DAC, who made the system that was wrapping around all of the appliances that were over there. So, then our television set presentation, we're competing against guys who are doing these huge wraparounds. This, again, is in a Mathis store. So what can we learn from what I've just shown you? And I'm not showing it to you to depress you. I'm trying to show you the environment that we're all working within. So we need to create departments that make it really easy for customers to shop. And what tends to happen in a smaller store is you mush everything together and it gets really difficult to tell what's what. And you do the same thing on a website. So in a website, what you do is you put the tabs on the top, really simply. These are dining rooms, these are living rooms, these are bedrooms, these are inspirations, these are design inspirations. And we need to do that in our stores. We need to tab our store just in the same way. The customers looked at it that way online. We need to present that in store online. We need to have more digital screens in the store that explain things very quickly and easily so that it follows through on exactly what they saw on the website. And there's a continuity of message between the website and what happens in store. We need to open up the ceilings in the store and have floating elements to cut the cost of all of that material, which nobody ever sees in the store anyway. And mostly it's an allowance that we get from the landlord when we're taking the space, but we don't deploy that allowance to our advantage. We just throw it into a ceiling and put up some fluorescent lights. And we need to really think about this snack culture that we're living in. And what I mean by the snack culture is not just, those higher tabletops that are relating to that, but the way we heard this morning from the X and Y generation, that they are really very short-fused. They are only snacking at pieces of information. They don't write these long screeds on the internet. They don't do that when they're texting you. I mean, my son just sends me a text and it says, "Okay, Dad." There's just no real information there. But we have to think about ways that we can communicate with our customers like that, and how we can make the shopping experience shorter and more succinct. We also need to look at mattresses much more carefully. And you'll notice in the Dream Store design that we did, how many people in here went to see the Dream Store? Can you? Oh, very good. Great. So we got a pretty good cross-section. One of the things you'll notice is the mattress is on the left-hand side at the front of the store. Why did we do that? Well, I think David could tell you that better than I could, because when we decided to do that, we said mattresses are an impulse buy. They should be seen on the way in the store and the way out of the store. When you think about it, if your wife sends you out to go and get some milk because you've got some folks coming over on the weekend or something, or a six-pack, you go into the store, you go into the convenience store, and you run straight to the back, to the freezers at the back, and you pick up whatever it was you were sent out for, because you don't dare get home without it. You'd be in big trouble. So you get that packet, and now you turn around and you're on the way out of the store, and that's when you buy the chips and the dips and all the other stuff that you shouldn't have bought, and you get back with it with the 2 suitcases full of stuff and put it on the kitchen table, and the wife says, I only sent you out for a quart of milk. But the idea is you do your impulse buying on the way out of the store, not the way into the store. And mattresses are really an impulse buy, and we've treated them as destinational product. For years they were in the department store on the 3rd floor by the toilets at the back. Now we've kind of, allowed them to come out of their closet. So also we're seeing that king mattresses are selling much, much more than queens are, and the opportunity to sell up to a bigger mattress is an important opportunity. In the recliner area, what I call the twist, swivel, slide recliners, whoever would have thought? When I came to the US in 1977, I went to a car dealership, and he said, do you want windows on your car? I said, of course I want windows on my car. He said, I mean electronic windows on your car. But now, would you ever offer anybody a hand crank? No. Would you ever offer anybody a recliner that wasn't electronic? No. Would you ever offer them something that had a battery in it that makes it possible to use it for over a week without recharging it? Yes. So the whole technology is changing in recliners. And it's certainly changing in beds, in that people are doing a lot more with their iPads and their laptops and so on in bed while they're watching television. They're cranking the bed up and down and so on. A lot of opportunities in there for electronic furniture products, which we've not had an opportunity to sell before. So those are some of the opportunities. Let's talk about the dream store and the concept behind it, and how some of the things I've just been talking about that are going on inside retail affected the design that you've seen. Well, the thing that makes a dream store work is 3 things. And if I've learned something from Steve Jobs' presentations, he always shows things in 3s. Never 4s, never 5s, always 3s, because they're more memorable. The first is we need to attract more customers to our stores. And for the most part, the storefronts on the rental industry storefronts are trapped underneath a canopy on a site where some developer who developed the site has got all kinds of signage restrictions. They don't let you go any higher. Well, it just means that you have to start looking for pads that are at the front of those locations, what used to be restaurant pads. You have to start looking at spaces that are bigger than 5,000 square feet, because a typical developer will develop a series of slots, 2,500 square feet, and he'll knock the wall out between to give you a 5,000 square feet. He'll knock the 2 walls out to give you a space that's 7,500 square feet. But we need to have spaces where we can have our own storefront in front of it. One thing that I learned when we were working in Asia was that Fujifilm put these huge billboards up in front of their stores in Asia, that are bright green with the word Fuji in white on it. And they were killing Kodak. And one of the reasons that Kodak is in big trouble is because they never adapted to those markets and changed the way that they did business. So we need to find ways of making our storefronts more of a billboard, more attractive, better lit at night, better lit during 4th quarter particularly, because it's from that 4th quarter is when all the profit is made, and that's when we need our visibility. So we need to be more attractive in terms of our storefronts and the billboarding of the stores. Once we get those customers in the door from all the things you've been hearing about throughout this conference, about web, about advertising, about promotions, about word of mouth, about all of those things, you get the customer through the front door. That's when we have to convert more. We have to convert them both to buying more products, so what we call the market basket that they take out of the store with them is fuller. There's more product in it. If we're selling a sofa, we sell the chair. If we don't sell the chair, we sell the ottoman. If we don't sell the ottoman, we sell the coffee table. We sell the end tables. We sell the lamps. We sell a package. We do a package deal for them to make them take more with them. We need also to convert them, if they're buying something for a bedroom, to buy the mattress. We need to do those add-on sales to maximize the sale that consumers make when they're in the store. And all of the tools I have, the interior, the architecture, the lighting, the graphics, the signage, the fixturing, the merchandising, the product presentation, all the tools I can bring to you are all about that. They're about how do we get more customers to buy more stuff before they leave the store, or to put it in their memory bank so when they have that credit that's available, they do this. I've been in some of your stores when customers come in and they get so excited because they paid off that last bill, and then the first thing they do is start looking for something else to buy. And for them, this is a huge release. You know, they've paid it off, and now they're looking for something. They're looking for this sense of gratification. I was in a store, the guy was really whooping it up. He had a great time. What can I get now, you know? And that's a fabulous feeling, and you want to have a store that makes them feel this is the place to spend it instead of, I'll leave the store and go and look somewhere else. And how do we get customers to visit more often? How do we get them to come back? We heard some very interesting ideas this morning and yesterday about that. And you know, one of the things that IKEA did, which was really brilliant at Christmas, was they sold Christmas trees to people in the parking lot in front of the store. And then when Christmas was over, if you brought the Christmas tree back, they mulched it for you, which was very green of them, but they also gave you a little Christmas tree to plant in your yard. So they had sort of 3 occasions that they could bring you back for something as simple as a Christmas tree. So how do we get customers to come back more often, you know, do more word of mouth, and some of the techniques that you talked about this morning do that. So here is the basic floor plan of the store that we've been talking about. We took a space here, just the space that we could get in the exhibit, which was 80 by, I think, 140, was it? 40 by 80. And what we tried to do in that space, you know, it's 3,000 square feet-ish, was to simulate what would happen with customers coming in. Let's just take this scheme that you're looking at up here. You're coming in from the right-hand end here in the center, and you're heading back into the store. Well, what we've tried to do is to push the cash register as far back in the store as we can, so customers who are coming back to make payments have to make the journey into the store. But instead of just having a straight path, which is very typical of what we'd seen in retail, and that straight path is, you know, there's the machine gun post back there, and I got to make it down the avenue to that, and so I just go straight to it. What I try to do here is to create something that just allows me to step off the main walkway, to just take a kind of circuitous route to get to that cash register. And we know that 75% of people coming in through a typical entrance turn right. So we just allow them to do that. So we encourage them to take the right-hand turn, to take that track to go back. And what we've learned is that, yeah, straight lines are easy to do carpets and to do hard tile and to cut it and to make it work. But if we can find a way to curve it, like the floor is made of concrete and the carpet is just cut to a curve, what happens is that instead of viewing straight ahead and walking to that destination, if you're constantly curving as you're walking around the space, you're spanning and you're tracking what is happening on the side of the store. So a curved walkway does a lot more for you in terms of a slow reveal of merchandise as you're making that turn. And people tend to look to the right. And if that's a wall that has on it wall decor, and then it has maybe, taller armoires, and then maybe it has upholstery pieces, and then maybe it has coffee tables, and then maybe it has a rug. You can see how we've waterfalled up the merchandise from the walking aisle, and you're constantly looking at different levels of merchandise, and you're being exposed to things vertically and horizontally as you move through the shopping experience. So something that may have just felt comfortable. I noticed, for example, we had some people in electronic wheelchairs coming in and out of the store, which was great. They could get in and out easily. So the track would do that. It also, with a hard track and a soft pad, encourages people that if that guy in the wheelchair is coming in behind me, I just step over here and I'm in kind of a safe zone and he goes by behind. Now that could be a woman with a baby carriage. It could be another customer who's coming in. And I can take possession of this furniture by just stepping onto that rug, and this is my room set. This is my space. So those are psychological things that are happening with just something as simple as a curve in the floor. Now you come to the back of the space, our destination, and we've created at the back of the space here, you can see it, that curved wall before the white space. The white space is representing the stock room. And we never, ever want to be able to see from the front of the retail space behind the scenes. You know, it's like in Disney, you don't want to see behind the stage. You don't want to see the loading that's going on in the back room of the store, or the pallets, or the nails, or all the other stuff that's back there, the trash that happens to be there. So what we've done is by creating this screen like that, you can slip behind the stage, in your on stage, off stage, if you like, to some of the analogies that were mentioned this morning and yesterday. But now you don't see behind the curtain. You don't see that space. But you still have access back there with a dolly with, a washing machine on it, or a sofa that's up on end and you're bringing it in. So you can get in and out of that space without having to have lots of doors and difficulties. But at the same time, the customer can't see through that space. And then we use that back panorama, that wraparound. We use it for showing our electronic screens, create a strong destination, a strong color, a movable surface that is always liquid and interesting back there in order to create a destination within the store. Easily visible from the front door, nice backdrop that happens at that back part of the store. Now, once I've done my transaction and I turn around to go back out of the store, I have a different way to go out of the store than I had when I came in. So if I'm smart, I take the other walkway out and I see all the other merchandise that's on that other walkway. And what we've done is we've put all the beds on that outer perimeter on the way out. So one of the things that I realized as I worked with your teams over this last year was it's difficult to get your training to the point where your people know where to put stuff back. I mean, I can do a beautiful looking store in a couple of days with a display designer and one of your staff and maybe your trainer and maybe the manager of the store, but are they going to be able to keep it up? Well, one way of doing that is by defining the departments with the floor covering. So you can say to your manager, anything you like, as long as it's upholstery this side. Anything you like, so long as it's bedrooms on this side. Anything you like, so long as it's dining rooms in the middle of the space. And okay, anything you want, so long as electronics on the back wall. So you've got 4 or 5 departments which essentially are the headings that are on the website. So we're just making it really easy for the customer to find it, for your staff to put it back, for the management to make it work. All of those things get a hell of a lot easier once you departmentalize in this kind of a way. Now, at the front of the store, the 2 strike zones on the right and left as you come in the entrance, we know that customers take about 3 steps into the store, about 9 feet, 3 feet a step, and then they stop. They take stock of the environment they're in. If they've got sunglasses on, they very often take them off because they can't see. If they're wearing a raincoat, they'll take it off. If they've got an umbrella, they'll put it down. I mean, that's a moment when they kind of take pause and take stock of what you have. So at that point, you have to have a big issue story. You have to be able to say, these are living rooms, these are dining rooms, these are bedrooms, these are electronics. Just that simple from that front entry point. You get that story really simple. Now you make that turn and you go down that walkway. What we're trying to do in the middle of the space is to use the dining tables down the middle of the space. And the reason we put dining down the middle is because it allows us to use the air space above with chandeliers and lights coming down. Now, we use paper shades over here just to symbolize that, but normally you'd have all your expensive hanging light fittings over those tables. And there are 3 reasons to do that. One is the store is like a valley, so we've kind of merchandised up the walls as much as we can. But this airspace that's in the middle here is for free. We're paying for it. We might as well hang product in there that we can sell. And that gives us another way of using your square footage to maximize your sales inside the space. That's the first reason. The second reason is that hanging that merchandise there produces the light which lights the tabletops. And if we've got on the tabletops silverware, plates, etc., it lights those and they sparkle and they look really interesting. And we can use colored napkins and things on there to create a sense of color and decor inside the space. It's like setting a table inside a home you're trying to sell. You know, the realtor will come in and stage your home and do that for you. We're staging the store to make this into a selling experience. Now, on the perimeters on either side, we have table lamps. And those table lamps, as I said before, somewhere between 10 and 15% of the light in the store is coming from either these pendants or these ones on the side. And they're things you're selling. So you're not paying for those. Those are part of your stock. The beauty about having a table lamp inside a room set is that that light not only provides you with a little diffused lighting that's very pleasant, but it also allows us to celebrate the merchandise that's around it. So if I have pillows, if I have throws, if I have carpets, if I have rugs, if I have different textures that are in that space, I can see all those textures by virtue of the light being that far away from the subject. If I have a light on the ceiling, it isn't doing me much good by the time it gets down there. And I can't see the textures, and I'll show you examples of these things in just a moment. So we're using the perimeter lighting, we're using our pendant lighting, and now ideally we would run down the tracks, the walkways front to back, about 2 feet off the walkway, and shooting into the room sets on either side, we would use track lights. And those track lights are providing greater sparkle and greater interest on the perimeter. The center's already lit by the pendant lights. And what they're doing is they're not shining in my eye as a customer. I don't walk into a battery of lights that are blinding me inside the space. So we've talked about lighting. We've talked about flooring. We've talked about departmentalization. We've talked about merchandising. Now let's talk about the impulse sales. We talked about the mattresses being on the way out, that you see them. But also, when you get to that cash register at the back, we've tried to plan it so when you're standing right in front of that cash register, you look to your right and you see a black and white tile kitchen area, and in that area are all of the washing type products. So there will be washing and drying on your right-hand side. And we've separated out those things that are to do with food preparation and cooking, which are on your left-hand side. In that area, again on a black and white tile to simulate a kitchen experience, it's almost a cliche, the black and white tile representing kitchen or eating, diner. What happens on that side over there is we have the refrigerators and we have the cooking equipment of various kinds, and certainly barbecue and things could be mixed into that. Now, when we went to look at the first stores, first of all, a lot of these appliances were at the front entrance door of the store, and they produce a very cold opening gambit when you step into the store. When you step into the store and you see all these hard appliances on either side of you, it's a very cold opening gambit. We want a much softer, warmer kind of experience there, so we took them back. We also put them close to the electronic appliances, because they are electronic appliances. So now we have the back wall with all the TVs on it, the washing area over here, clothing area, and then the cooking area to the other side. And then the counter in front of us obviously has recessed lit panels inside it for small jewelry add-on items, gift purchase type items. And it would be very close to that area, either in front of that cash register or right behind it, where we would put the computers and the whole computer display story that would be happening, again, at that focal point for almost a second experience as you're entering the store. First one being, welcome home. Second one being, let's get and look at some of this really exciting technical equipment. And men will respond well to that second experience, and women will respond well to the opening gambit experience. And if you watched people in the store, it was fascinating to watch how the women would walk along and run their hands along the sofas, or they'd run their hands along the beds. They were touching and feeling and having conversations with other women about what they were touching and feeling. And the guys were all huddled in the back looking at all the TVs and looking at all the electronic equipment, and they were having their own kind of fest that was happening back there. So these are kind of psychological things that we're trying to do. We're trying to make the store more feminine with the curves. We're trying to introduce softer colors to make it feel good. We're trying to introduce these different levels of lighting to, get your eye moving around inside the store so it's not flat. The most interesting form of lighting I've always found is when I'm in a park in the summertime and there's a big shade tree and the light's coming down through the branches and you're getting these little pools of dancing light that are happening inside the space. And that just excites you. There's an excitement that happens from the different points of light that are happening and distraction that's happening. So here's that same floor plan with merchandise applied to it. And you can see what we've done in the sort of green area at the top with the bedrooms there. We've angled them to your point of view coming into the store. We've managed to get the case pieces behind against the wall so you don't see the back of any of those case pieces. Those could even be on lifters like in Crate and Barrel where they put them on a 9-inch white base or a carpeted base. We have the kitchen appliances over here with a wall behind them, so there's some backing to that. And you could actually run appliances on both sides of those walls to increase your density. On the left-hand side over here, the yellow area that you see, mostly upholstery sets with the sofas again in your line of sight coming into the space. And then the center of the space here, maybe if it's a bigger store, maybe a combination of cross-aisling your department to make your upholstery work, and then a small eating area in the center because it's just not sufficient sales in that area to justify a greater presence in there. Computers, again, right in front of the cash registers, and customer service there with home entertainment on the back wall. Any questions? Any questions about this concept? And just while I do is, could somebody get me a glass of water? I'm really, I can hardly speak. Thanks.
Mark, what size square footage is this?
We could play this kind of a store anywhere between 7,500 square feet and 3,500 square feet. So in other words, the one we had over there was about 3.5. This one here could be bigger than that. Thank you so much. Thanks. Any other questions? Sir? Yep. Yeah, I'm not talking so much about conversions. I'm really looking for some way to get you some freestanding opportunities, if there's some way that we can do that. It could be an end cap on, an L-shaped center or a U-shaped center on the ends. The problem is, once they saw you in half with those, mansard roofs and the little canopies and things like that, it's really difficult to get your windows to speak to the customers. And you end up having to use posters or graphics or something to be able to do that. And signage must be something that you have to negotiate very, very early on in the lease in order to get the impression that the boldness that you need to be able to know that you're there in the center. I think one of the things is that the internet is good in the sense that it will drive people to your store. But I've often find when I'm looking for stores that the GPS doesn't actually know that store is there. And one of the things to do, first of all, is to make sure that you drive to your store on your GPS and just make sure you can find it. And then make sure that the signage on the store is enough for you to be able to recognize you've got to your store when you actually get to it. So this is part of the game. We do a lot of things with windows, painting them over, putting signage behind them, doing digital signs behind windows, all of those kind of techniques, flag signs, poster signs, getting you on the billboard out in front, all the things that I'm sure you're doing. But the big thing here, I think, is the size of these stores. We have to start thinking that we need to have some flagship stores that establish the brand, which are big enough, and then we need to step down from that for local stores in local markets. So here's an example of an upholstery room set, and what you're seeing in this photograph from Pottery Barn is the combination of pattern on plain, which is happening where you have textured, patterned pillows on a plain background. It's just a white old sofa here, but it looks seasonally relevant. And we're just coming up to fall now, and these colors are very much fall colors, which are in the sort of the brown and the faded greens. We also see the table lamp here lighting the table and giving you the texture of the wood and the detailing that's going on there. If we're going to appeal to a customer, like we heard earlier today, the younger customer, and provide them with complete solutions, which is what the request was, we have to make sure that these room sets are more about solutions rather than just pieces of furniture. And part of that is how do we accessorize them, and how do we present them, and how do we make them look lived in, making the space look like somebody's apartment or look like somebody's home. And Pottery Barn and Crate & Barrel and all the catalog retailers do a beautiful job of this. There's a lot of lessons to be learned from that. In the mattress and the bedroom section, we have high headboards behind, but we can take that up the wall by using mirrors and artwork behind. And then we can stack these with pillows. And you notice that over there we used a lot of pillows on all of the beds. We used a lot of comforters folded back so you could see the mattress. So we're still selling the mattress, but we're selling the lifestyle look of the pillows, the comforter, the style of the whole presentation. We're also, using a lot of the dining furniture in the middle here, both lighting from above and using light colors underneath so we can see the legs and we can see the detailing of the furniture underneath. So lighting from underneath by reflection is an important thing. We always try to get as light a floor as we can get, and yet at the same time make it as dark as possible to deal with traffic and dirt and so on coming in, especially if you're right off the street. But the hard walkway helps take some of the knocks off the carpet, and the lighter we can put rugs under these tables, even if we have to change them out, the more we can see the detailing on the furniture. And then, the lighting from above, lighting what's on the tabletops, as I talked about, and how you set those up to really make it look like a welcoming experience inside the store. And how do you create these customer amenities? The sense that you welcome a customer and have them sit down while you're negotiating something, while you're talking about things. So often I'm in stores and the service people never offer a customer a seat. And why not? The longer they stay in your store, the more they will buy. We've just proved that over and over again. So my commitment to you is sell more often, use all the techniques that I can help you with and ones you can develop yourself in terms of architecture, interior design, signage, graphics, communications, lighting, all the things that you can possibly use to make your stores more effective. Thank you.